Welcome to Fall Asleep 2, where we guide your mind gently into rest with long, thoughtful explorations of the world's most fascinating topics. If you enjoy what we do, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. It helps build our global community, and we love seeing how far these videos travel. Now, settle in, get cozy, and let your curiosity drift as we explore the hidden psychology of dreams. Have you ever wondered why we dream? What purpose these strange, fleeting visions serve as we lie unconscious? For centuries, dreams have captivated the minds of philosophers, scientists, and everyday people. They are the secret films of the night, playing in our heads without script or control, and yet often feeling intensely personal, mysterious, and meaningful. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the world of dreams, exploring the psychology behind them, the history of dream analysis, and the strange and often beautiful science that underlies this nightly phenomenon. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, let us wander together through the hidden corridors of the dreaming mind. To begin, we must start with one question. What is a dream? At its most basic, a dream is a succession of images, ideas, emotions, and sensations that usually occur involuntarily in the mind during certain stages of sleep. But dreams are far more than that. They are the subconscious speaking in symbols. They are memories, fears, hopes, and fantasies stitched together by the dreaming brain in ways that are not bound by logic, time, or physical law. Dreaming occurs primarily during REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep, which typically begins around 90 minutes after falling asleep. During this phase, the brain is nearly as active as it is during waking life. The body, however, is in a state of near paralysis, a condition known as rematonia, so that we don't act out our dreams. It's a safety mechanism, and without it, dreaming could be dangerous. The psychological study of dreams has long intrigued thinkers across the world. Ancient civilizations believed dreams were messages from the gods. The ancient Egyptians even had specialized dream interpreters, and dreams were written on papyrus scrolls and studied with great reverence. In Mesopotamia, dream interpretation was considered an art and a science. But in the modern era, one figure stands out as the pioneer of dream psychology: Sigmund Freud. Freud's landmark book, The Interpretation of Dreams, published in 1899, argued that dreams are a form of wish fulfillment. According to Freud, dreams represent the unconscious mind's desires, often ones we repress or are unaware of during waking life. He believed that by analyzing the symbols in dreams, the images, the people, the strange occurrences, we could uncover the hidden workings of the mind. For example, Freud might interpret a dream of flying not just as a literal fantasy of flight, but as a symbolic expression of escape, ambition, or even sexual desire. In Freud's view, everything in a dream meant something else, something deeper. Not everyone agreed with Freud, however. His most famous student, Carl Jung, broke away from his theories and proposed a new perspective. Jung believed that dreams were not just personal expressions, but collective ones as well. He introduced the idea of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of archetypes, symbols, and figures that appear in myths and stories across cultures. Jung's approach to dream interpretation was less rigid and more symbolic, where Freud saw dreams as veiled desires. Jung saw them as guidance from within, a way for the psyche to balance itself. He believed that dreams helped individuals process the events of life and encouraged personal growth. Both Freud and Jung had profound influence on psychology, and their ideas continue to shape how we think about dreams today. But what does modern science say? Today, researchers understand dreams in more biological terms. Scientists have found that during REM sleep, the brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, and strengthens neural connections. Dreaming may be a byproduct of this intense neurological activity. In fact, studies show that people who are deprived of REM sleep, either by waking them up each time they enter that stage or by using certain medications, become more irritable, have trouble concentrating, and can even experience hallucinations. There's also evidence that dreams help us solve problems. The term "sleep on it" isn't just a saying. Numerous experiments have shown that people who take a nap or get a full night's sleep often come up with better solutions to complex problems than those who remain awake. The brain continues to work even while we sleep, and dreams might be one of its tools for doing so. Consider the case of Dmitri Mendeleev, the Russian chemist who created the periodic table. He claimed that the layout of the table came to him in a dream. Similarly, Paul McCartney said the melody for the song "Yesterday" came to him in his sleep. And Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, famously said the idea for her novel was born from a dream. Dreams can be creative, bizarre, terrifying, or comforting, but no matter what form they take, they are an essential part of being human, and they are still, in many ways, a mystery. Let us now wander further into the dreamscape, into the rich variety of dreams that visit us at night. Not all dreams are created equal. Some are vivid, some are forgotten before our eyes even open, and some seem to leave a mark on our waking life. Researchers and psychologists have identified several categories of dreams, each with unique features and psychological implications. The first and perhaps most widely discussed type is lucid dreaming. This is the phenomenon where the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming while still inside the dream. In a lucid dream, you might suddenly realize that what's happening around you is not real. Perhaps the sky is green, Or you're walking through a place you've never seen before, yet it feels familiar. With this awareness comes the possibility of control. Many lucid dreamers report being able to fly, change the environment, or interact with characters in their dreams with intention. It's like being both the author and the protagonist of your own nightly story. Lucid dreaming has fascinated people for centuries. In ancient Tibetan Buddhism, monks practiced a form of lucid dreaming called dream yoga, in which they trained themselves to become aware within dreams for the purpose of spiritual growth. Today, lucid dreaming is being studied scientifically. One of the most famous researchers in the field, Dr. Stephen LaBerge, pioneered techniques to induce lucid dreaming and proved its reality in sleep labs using eye movement signaling. He found that with training, many people can learn to become lucid in their dreams, opening the door to self-discovery, creativity, and even healing. Then there are nightmares, the darker cousins of ordinary dreams. Nightmares are intense, emotionally disturbing dreams that often wake the dreamer with feelings of fear, anxiety, or sadness. They tend to occur more frequently during times of stress, trauma, or illness. While occasional nightmares are normal, chronic nightmares can be a sign of deeper psychological issues, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For people suffering from PTSD, dreams can be haunted by past experiences. The mind, in sleep, replays and reimagines painful events as it attempts to process and understand them. Some therapies, such as imagery rehearsal therapy, aim to help patients rewrite their nightmares while awake, so that the new, less distressing version replaces the old one during sleep. But not all emotionally intense dreams are nightmares. There is a more ambiguous category called emotional dreams, those that stir deep feelings, even if they are not frightening. You may dream of someone you've lost and wake up with tears. Or perhaps you experience overwhelming joy in a dream and wake up feeling peaceful and connected. These dreams tap into the emotional centers of the brain. In REM sleep, the amygdala, the part of the brain associated with emotion, is highly active. It's believed that dreaming, especially during REM, plays a role in emotional regulation, helping us make sense of feelings we might not fully understand when awake. Recurring dreams are another fascinating phenomenon. These are dreams that repeat over time, often with little variation. They might involve being chased, falling, being unprepared for an exam, or losing teeth, some of the most common themes. Recurring dreams tend to surface during periods of stress or when there are unresolved conflicts in our lives. The repetition is thought to be the mind's way of signaling that something needs attention. If you've had the same dream more than once,
consider what it might be telling you. Sometimes the key lies not in the literal imagery, but in the emotions they bring up. Ask yourself, what do I feel in this dream? When did I first feel that in waking life? Is there something I am avoiding or neglecting? Another mysterious category is prophetic dreams, also called precognitive dreams. These are dreams in which the dreamer experiences something that later seems to occur in real life. Stories of prophetic dreams date back thousands of years, and while many scientists remain skeptical, the phenomenon persists in popular culture. Perhaps you've had a dream of meeting someone and then encounter a person who looks just like them days later, or you dream of an event only to see it unfold on the news. Some believe these are coincidences, the mind playing tricks on memory. Others suggest that the brain is picking up on subtle cues and forecasting future possibilities subconsciously. While there's little empirical evidence for prophetic dreams as literal predictions, there is growing appreciation for how dreams reflect our intuitions. The dreaming brain is free from the linear thinking of waking consciousness. It can connect dots we don't consciously see, making it an engine for intuition, hunches, and gut feelings. There are also healing dreams, which often occur during periods of illness, grief, or recovery. These dreams may feature themes of restoration, forgiveness, or guidance. Some people report dreams in which a deceased loved one appears with a message of comfort. Others dream of themselves being healed, nurtured, or cleansed. Though science cannot yet fully explain these dreams, they appear to serve an important emotional function. They provide peace, hope, and sometimes even a sense of closure. And then there are the absurd, nonsensical dreams, the ones that seem to defy all meaning. You're riding a bicycle through space. Your childhood home is floating in a cloud. You are speaking a language that
doesn't exist. These dreams might seem random, but even randomness has structure in the dream world. These surreal experiences may reflect the brain's process of cleaning house, discarding unnecessary information, reinforcing useful memories, or reorganizing emotional priorities. Even the most nonsensical dreams can carry symbolic meanings. The flying bicycle might represent freedom or instability. The floating house might be your longing for the past. Dream interpretation is never an exact science, but often the most important interpretations come from within. So, we see that dreams are as varied as they are mysterious. Lucid dreams, nightmares, emotional dreams, recurring dreams, healing dreams, and surreal dreams. Each reveal something different about the psyche. They are the mind's theater, but also its mirror. Throughout history, dreams have been more than just personal experiences. They have been viewed as powerful, even sacred events, portals to the divine, messages from beyond, or visions of the future. In the ancient world, dreams were often treated with reverence and awe. In ancient Egypt, dreams were considered divine communication. Egyptians believed that God spoke through dreams, offering guidance or warnings. They built special temples called sleep temples, where people would go to dream deliberately. There, under the guidance of priests, they would sleep in hopes of receiving a divine message. These dreams were recorded on papyrus, and professional dream interpreters would analyze them. Symbols were catalogued and studied, forming one of the earliest forms of dream dictionaries. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, dreams were similarly important. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest pieces of literature in human history, contains several pivotal dreams. The people of that region saw dreams as omens, and kings often consulted dream interpreters before making major decisions. There were even clay tablets preserved from that time, listing various dream symbols and their supposed meanings. Among the Greeks, dreams played an equally central role. In Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, gods regularly influence human destiny through dreams. The Greek god Morpheus, from whom we get the word morphine, was believed to shape dreams. Dream temples, like those in Egypt, were used for incubation. People would sleep in the hope of being healed or enlightened through dreams. The philosopher Aristotle took a more skeptical view. He believed dreams were the result of sensory impressions and internal bodily conditions. But another great thinker, Plato, thought dreams revealed the desires of the soul, unbound by reason. Centuries later, in Rome, figures like Cicero and Artemidorus studied dreams. Artemidorus wrote a 5-volume work called Onerocritica, which offered interpretations of thousands of dream symbols. His approach was remarkably psychological, focusing on the dreamer's individual life, class, and experiences. Meanwhile, in indigenous cultures around the world, dreams have always held deep spiritual and communal significance. Among the Australian Aboriginal peoples, dreams are not just experiences of sleep. They are a gateway to the dream time, a sacred era when ancestral spirits shaped the world. In this worldview, dreams are deeply connected to identity, land, and heritage. In many Native American traditions, dreams are a bridge between the human world and the spirit world. Vision quests, rituals of solitude and fasting are undertaken to invite powerful dreams. These dreams guide individuals in their roles, purpose, and place within the tribe. In the high mountains of the Andes, the Quechua and Aymara people also hold dreams in high regard. Shamans are believed to travel in dreams, seeking knowledge or healing energy for their communities. In Tibetan culture, dreams are a path to enlightenment. Through practices like dream yoga, practitioners learn to remain conscious in dreams, to develop insight into the illusory nature of reality. The belief is that by mastering the dream state, one can better navigate the states between life and death. In medieval Europe, dreams began to be seen with suspicion, especially by the church. Some were believed to be sent by God, but others were thought to be temptations from the devil. This ambivalence persisted for centuries. At times, dreams were treated as sacred revelations, at others as superstitious nonsense. During the Enlightenment, as science and rationality took hold, dreams lost some of their mystical status. They were seen more as curiosities, random firings of the brain or leftover thoughts from the day. But not everyone was convinced by this reduction. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, with the rise of psychoanalysis, dreams returned to the spotlight, not as divine messages, but as windows into the subconscious. This long, winding history shows just how deeply dreams are embedded in human culture. Across time and place, they have been oracles, teachers, warnings, and mysteries. They've shaped decisions, inspired art and religion, and influenced the course of civilizations. Even now, with all our science and psychology, we continue to find meaning in the images that visit us in the dark. What happens in the brain when we dream is a subject that has fascinated neuroscientists for decades. While dreams feel deeply emotional, surreal, and full of narrative, their roots are profoundly biological. To understand dreams from a scientific perspective, we must explore what the sleeping brain is doing during the different stages of sleep. Sleep occurs in cycles, typically lasting about 90 minutes each. Within each cycle are 4 main stages. 3 of non-REM sleep and 1 of REM, rapid eye movement sleep. It's in the REM stage that dreams are most vivid, emotional, and bizarre. During this phase, our brain becomes highly active, almost as active as when we're awake. Electroencephalogram, EEG, studies show that during REM, the brain displays fast, desynchronized activity. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and decision-making, is relatively quiet. Meanwhile, the limbic system, which governs emotions, lights up. This imbalance explains why dreams often lack consistent logic or rules, but are emotionally charged. The amygdala, in particular, is especially active during REM sleep. This almond-shaped structure processes fear and other strong emotions. That's one reason why dreams can be so intense, even terrifying, yet often without a clear cause. Another key player is the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory consolidation. During sleep, especially non-REM and REM stages, the hippocampus replays the events of the day and helps store long-term memories. In this process, fragments of real memories may be stitched into the fabric of dreams. This is why you might see familiar faces, places, or moments in your dreams, even if they're distorted or out of context. Scientists believe that dreaming plays a role in emotional processing. When we dream about something emotionally charged, a conflict, a fear, or even a joy, the brain is doing more than just showing us a movie. It may be working through feelings, testing scenarios, or helping us come to terms with events. Consider a dream where you're being chased, you're running, panicked, unable
to escape. When you wake up, you may feel lingering anxiety, but psychologists suggest that this type of dream might be your brain's way of confronting fear in a safe, simulated environment. It's as if the mind is practicing, preparing, even rehearsing how to deal with emotional challenges. Then there is the default mode network, a group of brain regions active during daydreaming, introspection, and imagination. This network also shows activity during dreaming. It may be partly responsible for the narrative quality of dreams, the feeling that we're watching a story unfold, even when that story makes little sense in hindsight. Interestingly, not all people remember their dreams. Some recall vivid details nearly every night, while others rarely remember a single image. Brain scans show that those who frequently recall dreams tend to have more activity in the temporoparietal junction, an area linked with attention, perception, and consciousness. This suggests that dream recall might depend not just on what the brain does during sleep, but how it transitions back into wakefulness. There's also evidence that the neurotransmitters involved in sleep play a role in the texture of dreams. During REM sleep, levels of norepinephrine linked with alertness are suppressed, while acetylcholine linked with memory and REM sleep generation is elevated. This chemical mix creates a state in which the brain is alert internally, yet cut off from external input. It's a state ripe for imagination, memory blending, and emotional exploration. Dreaming may also play a role in creative problem solving. Studies show that people who sleep on a difficult problem are often more likely to find a solution than those who stay awake. The brain appears to take the pieces of information, mix them in unexpected ways, and produce insight. Some researchers call this sleep-dependent insight. This has led to the notion that dreaming serves not only an emotional function, but a cognitive one. It might be that while we sleep, the brain is organizing ideas, finding patterns, and even generating new connections, connections we might not have made while awake. There is still so much we don't understand about the neuroscience of dreams. Why do some people have vivid, lifelike dreams, while others experience fragmented or shadowy ones? Why do certain dreams stay with us for years, while others vanish in seconds? What is the true purpose of the dream state? Science continues to search for answers using brain imaging, sleep studies, and psychological experiments. Yet for all our knowledge, dreams retain a certain magic, an edge of mystery that resists full explanation. While neuroscience continues to unravel the structures and chemicals that drive our dreams, a parallel conversation continues in the world of psychology. A conversation focused not on how dreams happen, but what they mean. Even in the age of brain scans and sleep trackers, humans remain drawn to the question, what is my dream trying to tell me? Psychologists have long tried to decode the language of dreams. One of the most influential voices in this space is Carl Jung, who expanded the idea that dreams are not merely random noise or even solely personal symbols, but messages from the deeper layers of the psyche. Jung believed in what he called the collective unconscious, a shared, inherited reservoir of symbols, archetypes, and motifs that appear in myths, religions, and stories across all cultures. These symbols, he argued, also show up in dreams. A serpent, a tower, a mirror, a labyrinth. These images repeat across time and geography because they emerge from a deep, shared part of the human experience. In Jung's view, dreams are a dialogue between the conscious mind and the unconscious. When we dream, we receive messages from deeper aspects of ourselves. These messages aren't always straightforward. They're metaphorical, symbolic, and sometimes cryptic, but they serve a purpose. They guide us, challenge us, show us what we've ignored, and offer insight into what we might become. Jung also introduced the concept of dream compensation. According to this idea, the unconscious often presents images that balance or counteract the attitudes of our waking life. If someone is overly rational and emotionally distant while awake, their dreams may be rich in emotional symbolism, trying to restore balance. If someone avoids a certain truth, it may arise again and again in the dream world until it is faced. Unlike Freud, who often saw dreams as wish fulfillment rooted in hidden desires, Jung saw them as tools for growth, healing, and individuation, the lifelong process of becoming one's full, authentic self. This process of individuation often involves integrating parts of the self that we reject, ignore, or disown. Jung called this the shadow, the aspects of our personality we keep in the dark. The shadow can appear in dreams as threatening figures, strangers, monsters, wild animals, or even distorted versions of ourselves. Facing the shadow in a dream is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that the psyche is trying to help us grow. There are also dreams Jung called big dreams, rare but powerful visions that feel deeply important. These dreams often have a numinous quality, a sacredness. They may involve encounters with archetypal figures, a wise old man, a great mother, a hero, or a trickster. Such dreams often come at turning points in life and can leave a lifelong impression. In modern psychology, there are many approaches to dream analysis. Some therapists follow a Gestalt approach pioneered by Fritz Perls, where every part of the dream is seen as a part of the dreamer. If you dream of a house, you're not just in the house, you are the house. You are the windows, the doors, the locked rooms. By exploring the dream from each angle, you can discover parts of yourself you hadn't considered. Others use cognitive behavioral techniques to analyze the patterns and recurring themes in dreams. For instance, if you repeatedly dream about being lost, it might not be about a specific location, but a deeper feeling of directionlessness in life. A dream of public speaking might not be about the speech itself, but about the vulnerability of being seen and judged. There's also a more recent movement called dream work, which doesn't treat dreams as puzzles to be solved, but as stories to be explored. In this approach, the dreamer works with a therapist or a group, not to decode the dream into fixed meanings, but to experience the dream more deeply. What did it feel like to be in that place? What does that character remind you of? Is there something unresolved in that scene? Dream work encourages staying open-ended. Rather than saying, this dream means X, it says, what might this dream be saying? This openness often brings surprising insights. Importantly, no psychologist today believes in a one-size-fits-all dream dictionary. While some symbols may be widely shared, dream meanings are personal. A cat in your dream might mean independence, fear, comfort, or memory, depending entirely on your relationship with cats. Context is everything. What psychologists do agree on, however, is that dream journaling is a powerful tool. Writing down dreams immediately upon waking helps capture details that would otherwise
vanish. Over time, patterns may emerge. You might notice recurring themes, unresolved tensions, or emotional threads that weave through many nights. Some keep their journals by their bed, writing in the dark or speaking into a voice recorder. Others draw their dreams or write poetry based on the images they recall. There is no right way, only the commitment to pay attention. Dreams, after all, do not shout. They whisper. They come in symbols, in fragments, in feelings. They require stillness and reflection. And when we listen, truly listen, we may hear our deepest selves speaking through the fog. Dreams may be internal, but they do not exist in isolation. They are shaped by our experiences, our environments, our relationships, and even our biology.
Among the most fascinating areas of study in recent years has been the connection between trauma and dreaming, how the mind processes pain, memory, and healing through sleep. For individuals who have experienced trauma, dreams often take on a different tone. They may be more vivid, more emotionally intense, or more disturbing. This is especially true in the case of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, where sufferers frequently report nightmares and intrusive dreams related to the trauma they experienced. These dreams are not always literal replays of events. Often, they are symbolic or distorted, fragments of memory mixed with fear, confusion, or helplessness. A soldier who experienced combat may not dream of the battlefield, but of running from invisible enemies. A person who survived abuse may not dream of their abuser, but of being watched, trapped, or silenced. Why does the brain revisit trauma during dreams? One explanation is that the mind is attempting to integrate what happened, to find a way to understand and recontextualize an experience that felt incomprehensible or overwhelming. In waking life, trauma often bypasses rational processing. The emotional brain is flooded, the cognitive brain shuts down. Sleep may offer a second chance, but this process is not always smooth. In PTSD, the dream mechanisms may become overwhelmed. Rather than helping to regulate emotions, dreams become a source of distress themselves. Nightmares can lead to sleep avoidance, which in turn worsens emotional regulation and increases vulnerability. However, research also shows that dreams can play a role in healing from trauma. Therapies like imagery rehearsal therapy, IRT, help individuals rewrite their recurring nightmares. In this process, the person visualizes the nightmare while awake, but alters the outcome, giving themselves power, resolution, or safety. With repetition, the brain may adopt the new version during sleep, reducing distress and restoring a sense of control. This approach highlights an important idea. Dreams are not fixed. They can change. And when we interact with them consciously, we may shift not only our sleep experience, but our waking emotional landscape. Dreams also interact deeply with grief. When someone we love dies, they often appear in our dreams. These encounters can be confusing or comforting, joyful or heartbreaking. Sometimes the deceased says nothing. Sometimes they offer words we wish we'd heard in life. Grief dreams may reflect our longing to reconnect, our attempts to make peace, or our struggle to accept the loss. In some cases, they serve as a form of emotional closure, a last goodbye. In others, they offer companionship in the silence of absence.
Some people report that grief dreams feel different, more vivid, more peaceful, more real than typical dreams. These experiences often defy explanation, blurring the line between psychology and the spiritual. Are they just neural echoes of memory, or are they something more? Whether one sees them as psychological or metaphysical, these dreams often bring solace. They help mourners process pain, express love, and continue bonds with the departed. On the other end of the spectrum are dreams related to mental health conditions. Depression, anxiety, and other disorders can influence dream content and tone. People with depression may have dreams that are muted, heavy, or emotionally flat. Those with anxiety may experience chaotic, fragmented, or high-intensity dreams. Interestingly, individuals with depression often experience reduced REM latency, meaning they enter dream sleep more quickly. This can lead to longer or more frequent dreams, though not necessarily pleasant ones. Nightmares, in particular, are more common in people with mood disorders, but dreams can also serve as early warning signs. A change in dream tone, more disturbing content, more confusion, or a recurring theme of helplessness can sometimes precede a relapse in depression or anxiety. Paying attention to these shifts can be a subtle but powerful tool in self-awareness and mental health management. Another curious phenomenon is the presence of phantom dreams in people with physical disabilities or amputations. A person who has lost a limb may still dream of having that limb. Someone who was born blind may still experience dreams with spatial or tactile elements that mimic visual perception. This reveals something fascinating about the dreaming brain. It constructs experiences based not only on current sensory input, but also on internal models of the body and self. The mind continues to dream in ways that reflect its deeper sense of identity, even when that identity has changed physically. This adaptability is also seen in children's dreams, which develop as the child's cognitive and emotional world expands. Young children's dreams are often simple and static, single images, colors, or vague feelings. As language, imagination, and emotional depth grow, so too do their dreams. By the time a child reaches adolescence, their dreams begin to mirror adult patterns, full of storylines, symbolism, and complex emotions. Teenage dreams often center around identity, relationships, and fear of judgment, reflecting the developmental tasks of that stage of life. Dreams evolve with us. They change as we age, as we suffer, as we heal. They hold memories and mysteries, and sometimes they speak truths we are not yet ready to face in the daylight. But whether beautiful or
troubling, brief, or epic, dreams remind us of something essential, that the mind is never still. It is always watching, always listening, always feeling, even as we sleep. To speak of dreams is, in many ways, to speak of memory, the two are inextricably linked, not just in content, but in function. Many of the dreams we recall are drawn from the well of our past, people we've known, places we've lived, events we've experienced, or moments we've long forgotten. But dreams do not simply replay memory like a tape. They reinterpret, they shuffle, they blend and distort. In doing so, they reveal something profound. The mind doesn't just remember, it remakes. This idea that dreams are involved in the reorganization of memory has been supported by a growing body of research in cognitive neuroscience. During sleep, especially in the REM stage, the brain is extraordinarily active in memory consolidation. Events from the day are sorted, emotions are assigned weight, and certain patterns are reinforced. The hippocampus, the brain's memory librarian, replays these experiences,
sometimes handing them off to the neocortex for long-term storage. Dreams, it seems, are the byproduct and beneficiary of this process. They take pieces of waking life and reassemble them. A person you saw briefly in a cafe might appear in your dream as a trusted friend. A conversation you had last week might resurface in a completely different context. Time, place, and logic are fluid in dreams because the brain isn't bound by real-world rules. It is exploring possibilities. Some researchers suggest that this recombination serves a function. By mixing and matching pieces of memory, the brain may be testing out different emotional outcomes or alternative scenarios. This is known as the problem-solving theory of dreaming, that our sleeping minds are simulating versions of reality to prepare us for challenges. For example, if you dream of losing your way in a city, it may not be about being lost literally. It might reflect uncertainty in a relationship, a job, or a life path. Your brain isn't rehearsing for a literal maze. It's navigating an emotional one, and in dreaming, it does so safely, without consequence. One compelling example comes from a study involving people who were trained on complex tasks, like navigating a maze or solving a puzzle. Those who dreamed about the task often performed better the next day than those who did not. This suggests that dreams don't just process memories. They refine them, they clarify, they highlight what's important. But dreams don't always play fair. They don't always deliver answers or comfort. Sometimes they confuse us even more. They may dredge up memories we thought we had buried. They may combine people from different eras of life in strange, haunting ways. A childhood friend, an ex-lover, and a parent might all appear at once, sitting at a dinner table that never existed. Why does this happen? Part of the answer lies in how the brain stores emotional memory. Emotionally charged experiences, whether joyful or painful, are prioritized by the brain. They are tagged with a kind of neural highlight, which means they're more likely to be accessed later, including in dreams. So even if you haven't thought about someone in years, if they left a strong emotional impression, they may appear in your dreams. And what about the strange phenomenon of dreaming about people we barely know? A classmate you never spoke to, a stranger you passed on the street. Why would the brain spend its precious energy dreaming about them? One theory is that dreams reflect the brain's effort to understand social meaning. Humans are intensely social creatures. Much of our waking life involves interpreting faces, intentions, and relationships. Dreams may be a kind of laboratory where we practice this social intuition. Even distant or minor interactions may carry emotional weight, even if we don't notice it at the time. This becomes even more interesting when we explore the concept of the dream self. The version of you that inhabits your dreams. Sometimes the dream self is clearly you with your current age, personality, and perspective. But at other times, you may be younger, older, or acting in ways you never would in waking life. This fluidity suggests that our dream self is not fixed. It's a kind of psychological avatar shaped by both identity and imagination. When you do something in a dream, run, hide, fight, sing, confess, you are not just acting out a fantasy. You may be exploring a version of yourself, one that has been hidden, suppressed, or unrealized. Some dreams even fracture the self entirely. You may observe yourself from a distance, as if watching a movie. You may shift. Perspectives, becoming another character altogether. This phenomenon, known as dream dissociation, is thought to reflect the brain's experimentation with perspective. It's as if the mind, free from physical constraints, is exploring what it feels like to be someone or something else. This exploration is especially vivid in dreams of transformation. Dreams where you turn into an animal, a cloud, a shadow, or an object. These surreal metamorphoses are not uncommon, and they often carry rich symbolism. Becoming a bird might represent freedom or detachment. Becoming invisible may reflect a desire to withdraw or observe. Becoming a child again might reflect a longing for innocence or a revisiting of vulnerability. Dreams are perhaps the only place where we can fully explore identity without consequence. In waking life, we are tethered to one name, one body, one narrative.
In dreams, we can dissolve and reassemble. We can become fluid. We can become more than one. And what of language in dreams? Many people report having conversations in dreams, sometimes with themselves, sometimes with others. These conversations may be clear or nonsensical, profound or mundane. Language in dreams is fascinating because it seems to emerge from the same part of the brain responsible for speech in waking life, yet it is unedited, free-flowing. Some dreamers even report hearing music, poetry, or foreign languages they don't speak in waking life. This suggests that the brain, even at rest, can synthesize original content, composing lines of verse, inventing melodies, or simulating fluency. It's a testament to the brain's creative power. But perhaps the most mysterious element of dreams is how they make us feel. Not what we see or do, but what we experience emotionally. Some dreams leave us shaken, others leave us with a sense of longing or awe or sadness that lingers for hours or even days. Sometimes we wake with tears on our cheeks or laughter in our throat, and we don't know why. These feelings are real, even if the events that caused them were not. And this emotional realism may be what gives dreams their power. The dream may be fiction, but the feeling is not. In this way, dreams speak in a language older than words, a language of images, of metaphors, of sensation. They bypass reason and reach something more primitive, more intimate. And while we may not always understand them, we recognize them. We recognize the fear of being chased, the joy of flying, the sorrow of saying goodbye. These are not just symbols, they are experiences. And through them, we remember something essential, that even in silence, even in darkness, the inner life continues. It dreams, it feels, it wanders. And perhaps, in dreaming, we come closest to knowing who we really are. There is a quiet and curious phenomenon that many people experience but seldom talk about: false awakenings. This is when a person dreams that they have woken up, perhaps started their morning routine, only to then realize, still within the dream, that they are, in fact, still asleep. These dreams can be unsettling. You might dream that you've gotten out of bed, brushed your teeth, checked your phone, and begun your day, only to notice that something is off. Your reflection doesn't behave normally, or your room looks subtly wrong. Then you wake up, truly, this time, and realize it was all a dream. False awakenings are a testament to how convincing the dream state can be. The brain is capable of rendering not just fantastical worlds, but highly realistic replications of our own familiar reality. Some people even experience multiple layers of false awakening, waking up from one.
Dream into another, over and over, like a nesting doll of realities. Closely linked to false awakenings is the phenomenon of sleep paralysis. which occurs during the transition between wakefulness and sleep. During this state, a person becomes conscious but is unable to move their body. This happens because the brain wakes up before REM atonia, the muscle paralysis that keeps us from acting out our dreams, has fully worn off. Sleep paralysis can be terrifying, especially because it is often accompanied by hallucinations. Many people report feeling a presence in the room, seeing shadowy figures, or sensing pressure on their chest. Throughout history, cultures have interpreted these episodes as visits from spirits, demons, or ghosts. In medieval Europe, it was called the old hag syndrome, based on the belief that a witch or spirit was sitting on the sleeper's chest. Modern neuroscience has offered an explanation. Sleep paralysis is a natural glitch in the sleep-wake system. The brain is partially awake, the body is still paralyzed, and dream imagery may bleed into conscious perception. Even so, the intensity of the experience is hard to overstate. Those who've endured it describe it as one of the most vivid, real, and fear-inducing events of their lives. But it's not all fear and paralysis. There is a brighter side to conscious dreaming, and it is found in the world of lucid dreaming. As mentioned earlier, lucid dreaming is the state in which the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming. For some, this awareness brings a sense of control. They can fly, change the environment, speak to characters, or explore inner landscapes with intention. The transition from regular dreaming to lucidity is a fascinating neurological shift. Brain scans of lucid dreamers show increased activity in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the area linked with self-awareness and decision-making. It's as though the waking mind temporarily re-engages while dreaming continues. Many people learn to induce lucid dreams using techniques such as reality checks, small habits like asking, "Am I dreaming?" during the day, so that the question becomes habitual and eventually appears in dreams. Another method is wake back to bed, WBTB, where a person wakes after 4-5 hours of sleep, stays awake briefly, then goes back to sleep with the intention of becoming lucid. Lucid dreaming is not just a novelty, it can be deeply therapeutic. People with recurring nightmares can use lucidity to face fears directly, rewrite the narrative, or explore unresolved emotions. Artists, writers, and musicians have used lucid dreams as a wellspring of inspiration. Some lucid dreamers even describe using the experience for inner dialogue, healing, or spiritual growth. But even for those who do not seek to control their dreams, simply remembering and reflecting on them can offer value. This brings us to the often overlooked practice of dream journaling. Dream journaling is more than recording events. It is an act of listening. By writing down our dreams upon waking,
We signal to the unconscious that we are paying attention. This attention often leads to better dream recall over time. Patterns begin to emerge, symbols repeat, themes become clear. A journal becomes a map, one that charts not just the geography of dreams, but the inner terrain of the psyche. You may discover emotional threads, unresolved grief, unspoken desires, persistent worries, or hidden sources of joy. You may recognize your fears taking shape in symbolic form, or find that dreams are quietly guiding you toward questions you've avoided while awake. Some people enrich their dream journals with drawings, poems, or associations. Others annotate dreams with reflections. What might this mean? How did I feel? Does this relate to anything in my waking life? There are no rules. The key is consistency and honesty. You're not writing for anyone else. You're documenting an inner life night by night. Over time, this practice becomes a form of self-discovery. The unconscious begins to feel less foreign. The images that once seemed random now carry weight. You begin to sense when a dream is trying to tell you something, when it's asking for your attention. And there is a kind of intimacy in this, not just with your dreams, but with yourself. You begin to see how your mind works when it is unguarded. You notice your fears without distraction, your longings without shame, your creativity without limits. In dreams, we are raw and whole. We are the observer and the creator. We are truth tellers and symbol weavers. And as we sleep, we are not merely resting. We are speaking, remembering, searching, and perhaps, through dreaming, we are coming home to ourselves. Some who begin to track and work with their dreams find themselves drawn into deeper forms of conscious engagement, not only with dreams, but with the self that dreams. This is where dreaming begins to shift from something that happens to us to something we explore with intention. That shift often marks the beginning of what some call the dreaming path, an inner journey that leads not just through imagination, but through transformation. On this path, the dreamer becomes both explorer and interpreter. Dreams are no longer dismissed as random or forgotten on the pillow. Instead, they are honored, even invited. Before bed, the dreamer may set an intention. Show me what I need to see. Upon waking, they may sit quietly with their impressions rather than rushing into the day. Over time, the dream world becomes less chaotic and more like a strange but trusted teacher, speaking in metaphor but always with meaning. This approach often leads people to encounter what Jung called archetypes, those deep, universal patterns that live in all of us. In dreams, these may appear as powerful figures, a wise old woman, a destructive storm, a sacred animal, or a faceless guide. These figures often feel significant,
not because of what they do, but because of what they represent. They are not just characters, they are energies, parts of the self, or forces in the psyche, wearing symbolic costumes. When we engage with these figures in dreams, or reflect on them afterward, we engage with the inner architecture of our mind. We may begin to ask questions. What part of me does this represent? Why did it appear now? What is it asking me to understand? This kind of reflection can lead to profound insights. A dream about a collapsing house might symbolize instability in one's personal life. A dream about a locked door might point to emotional repression. A recurring image of water may represent intuition or emotion or a desire for cleansing. These interpretations are never fixed, but fluid, because symbols speak a language that changes based on context, culture, and consciousness. There are also dreams that seem to defy analysis, dreams that are not just symbolic, but luminous. These are the dreams that leave you breathless, that seem to glow from within, that feel like more than your own mind. Such dreams are often called transcendent dreams. They may involve visions of light, contact with mysterious beings, or experiences of overwhelming love or peace. Some describe these dreams as spiritual awakenings. Others see them as encounters with the deep self, whether seen through.
A religious, mystical, or psychological lens, their power is real and often life-changing. Interestingly, these kinds of dreams are more likely to occur during periods of great change: birth, death, illness, crisis, healing. During such times, the boundary between waking life and the unconscious becomes more porous. The psyche speaks more clearly, and we are more ready to listen. In such dreams, people often report feelings of clarity, of knowing something, even if they can't explain what. They may wake up with a sense of peace, or an answer to a question they hadn't been able to articulate. These dreams don't always make sense to others, but to the dreamer, they feel like truth. These experiences are reminders that the unconscious is not just a warehouse of memories or a chamber of fears. It is also a source of wisdom, creativity, and guidance, and dreams are one of its most direct languages. As dreamers deepen their practice, many begin to notice a dialogue unfolding. Dreams respond to attention. When we begin to listen, they begin to speak more clearly. When we ask questions, we often receive answers, not always in words, but in images, moods, or moments. This dream dialogue becomes a kind of ritual, a way of staying in conversation with the deeper layers of the self. Some even begin to integrate dreams into their waking life. They draw inspiration from dream symbols in their art, their writing, or their decision-making. They notice synchronicities, echoes of dream themes showing up in real life. they begin to live in rhythm with their inner world. This is not about escaping reality, it is about enriching it, grounding it in something deeper, seeing life not just as a series of events, but as a symbolic unfolding, a story in which the waking and dreaming worlds are not separate, but connected. And in this view, sleep is no longer just rest. It becomes a portal, a passage into something more intimate, more meaningful, more whole. So each night as we lie down and close our eyes, we are not merely surrendering to darkness. We are stepping into another dimension of our being, a place where the past lives, the future whispers, and the soul remembers itself. And in this quiet realm, we are all dreamers. To dream is to witness the mind painting in motion. In no other state do we experience such freedom. Freedom from physical laws, from logic, from identity itself. But as we've explored the functions, the symbols, and the mysteries of dreaming, one area remains especially intriguing: how culture shapes our dreams, and how our dreams, in turn, reflect the world we live in. It is tempting to think of dreams as purely private phenomena, products of individual psychology. But just as language, art, and belief are shaped by cultural context, so too are dreams. What we dream, how we interpret those dreams, and even whether we value them at all, is profoundly influenced by the society around us. Consider how dreams are treated across different cultures today. In many indigenous traditions, dreams are not isolated fragments of thought. They are communal messages, potentially carrying insight not just for the dreamer, but for the entire group. The dream might be shared around the fire, interpreted by elders, and used to guide collective decisions. In such cultures, dreams are seen as valid forms of knowledge, sometimes more trustworthy than waking logic. In contrast, in much of the Western industrialized world, dreams have long been dismissed as nonsense, mental static, best forgotten. This skepticism grew during the Enlightenment, when reason became the supreme value, and anything subjective was treated with suspicion. Dreams were considered unscientific, irrational, and not worth exploring. Yet even in the West, the pull of dreams never truly disappeared. In the 20th century, as psychology gained ground and interest in the unconscious grew, dreams began to reclaim their place, not as divine messages perhaps, but as reflections of internal states. Today, more and more people are rediscovering dreams as tools for healing, creativity, and introspection. Modern media also plays a role in shaping our dream worlds. The stories we consume, films, books, video games, social media, fill our minds with imagery that the unconscious may later remix during sleep. A character from a show may appear in a dream, not because they are personally significant, but because their presence has become a symbol or emotional echo. Technology itself is also changing how we dream. The constant stimulation of screens, the disruption of circadian rhythms, and the fragmentation of attention can all impact the quality and content of dreams. Some researchers have noted an increase in what they call tech dreams, where people find themselves trapped in screens, scrolling endlessly, or navigating interfaces. These dreams reflect the psychological imprint of our digital environments. At the same time, dreams are becoming more widely shared. Online communities dedicated to dream sharing have flourished. Spaces where people post their dreams, ask for interpretations, and find connections with others who've had similar visions. In this way, the ancient practice of communal dream discussion is being reborn in a new form. And as dreams are shaped by culture, so too do they reflect the emotional climate of the time. In moments of collective anxiety, wars, pandemics, natural disasters, certain dream themes tend to spike. People report more dreams of confinement, pursuit, loss, or apocalypse. The dream world registers the tension of the waking world, often before we've fully processed it consciously. This connection between collective stress and dream content has been studied in various contexts. For example, during the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, many people reported strange and vivid dreams. Dreams of isolation, contamination, invisibility, or endless mazes. These were not isolated incidents, but a kind of shared psychological weather, echoes of global uncertainty playing out in the private theatres of sleep. This points to something profound, that dreams are not just shaped by individual minds, but by shared realities. They are influenced by politics, by environment, by history. They are cultural documents, inscribed in symbols and metaphors. In this sense, dream content is a kind of storytelling. But unlike novels or films, dreams are stories told by the unconscious, for the unconscious. They do not seek approval, coherence, or clarity. They do not follow genre or convention, and yet they are often deeply meaningful. One of the remarkable things about dreams is their capacity for metaphor. Where waking thoughts may be constrained by logic, dreams operate freely in metaphorical space. A wave crashing through a window may symbolize emotional overwhelm. A locked suitcase may represent a hidden memory. A flight that never takes off might reflect lost potential. This metaphorical richness is part of what makes dreams feel poetic. They compress emotion and narrative into single images. They reveal things we didn't know we knew, and often they say it better than language ever could. For many people, the
the dream world becomes a second life, less visible, but no less real. A place of mourning and reunion, of fear and healing, of mystery and magic.
Place where we are not bound by roles, by routines, or even by time. And as people engage more deeply with their dreams, a kind of integration begins to occur. The border between waking and dreaming life softens. Dreams are no longer relegated to the night, but carried into the day as symbols, questions, or insights. People begin to live more intuitively, more reflectively. They begin to notice signs, patterns, rhythms within themselves and in the world. This is not superstition. It is attention. It is the practice of listening, of trusting that our inner lives are speaking all the time, not just when we are awake, and that perhaps in the dream world we are not escaping reality, but entering a different aspect of it. As we come to the close of this exploration, it's worth returning to a simple truth. Everyone dreams. Regardless of age, culture, or belief, the dream world is a shared human experience. And while each dream is private and personal, the act of dreaming is universal, a thread that links us across time and space, across waking and sleeping life. From the earliest cave dwellers to today's neuroscientists, dreams have captivated us. They have been seen as messages from gods, echoes of trauma, reflections of the soul, or simply noise from a resting brain. And perhaps they are all of these things, or none of them, or something we've yet to fully understand. But even without certainty, there is value in dreaming. There is value in taking the time to notice, to remember, to reflect. When we make space for our dreams, we make space for something else as well, for silence, for inner wisdom, for mystery. Mystery may be the most important part of all. We live in a world that often demands clarity, productivity, and explanation. But dreams remind us that not everything can or should be solved. Some things are meant to be felt, witnessed, honored. Dreams resist being boxed in. They speak in riddles, in symbols, in sensations. And in doing so, they open us to parts of ourselves that we might otherwise ignore. In the dream world, you might be a traveler with no destination. You might be a bird, a child, a whisper in a storm. You might visit people long gone or find yourself in places that never existed. These are not mistakes. They are the language of the inner world. And if we listen, we learn. We learn how we carry fear, how we long for connection, how the past lingers in us, how our bodies hold memory, how the soul sometimes speaks in metaphor when words are not enough. And dreams don't require you to interpret them perfectly. They don't punish you for forgetting. They simply return night after night, offering more. If nothing else,
Dreams are a nightly invitation to explore, to feel, to be curious. An invitation to loosen the grip of control and let the mind wander freely. To walk barefoot through the fields of the unconscious and see what grows there. Perhaps that's why dreams are so important in a world that moves too fast. They are not efficient, they are not productive, but they are deeply human, and they remind us that even in sleep, even in silence, something beautiful is happening inside of us. So tonight, as you close your eyes, let yourself drift, not just into sleep, but into wonder. Allow the images to come. Don't force them. Don't chase them. Let them rise like mist from the hidden corners of the mind. And whether you remember them or not, trust that your dreams are working. That something within you is healing, speaking, searching, creating. Because in the end, dreaming is not just a biological